The old school hip hop instrumental rap beat.
Extra, extra spooky.
Alright, Too spooky 5 me, man.
Well, we're not live, but we're recording.
I am alive, and
so
things are being done. Cheers. Don't spill on the laptop.
It's an old laptop.
It's your grandpa's laptop. Still,
yes,
he's like, what happened to the laptop? Spill booze all over it. We get shit-faced talking about Trump.
Well, obviously, so it's going to be a quick transition. For starters, welcome. 2 cameras. I don't really know which one.
I'll probably just look at you most of the time. You're probably not going to get much of my face. Not missing much. Don't worry about it.
So, I don't really have a name for this. I figured just Snozberries.
Podcast A.
Yeah. No, A podcast. Come on. It's always about the first letter.
Okay.
Speaking of, so I heard about this before we jumped into something, a little deeper. Did you hear about the new iTunes thing? The song on iTunes? So I heard about it on the Rooster Teeth podcast, of course, but there's a song, and I think it's 10 minutes of silence, and it's called A space A space A space A space A something something, like however many A's, good song. And that's it. And it's like #2 bestseller or something. So, the reason why...
Is it free or no?
I don't think so, but the idea why, potentially, as most people are... I say most people, as Gus pointed out, possibly, is that oftentimes, if you open up your music app on Apple and such, it just plays at the top of the list. So I remember on my...
So the search results
exactly. So your first song is just going to be silent. So you can pick a song, as opposed to having the same A song come on every single time you open up or play something. I don't remember how exactly it works, but what I do remember is that, like on my old iPod, I can't remember if it was like songs or something. Whenever I plugged it in, it would play, I think a song from, my dad. That's why I was like, I don't have ABBA on my iPod.
Well, I'm glad we can both have that common connection.
In my dad's truck, whenever you turn on,
it goes right to ABBA.
It goes right to ABBA. That first song, it's like, oh my god, it's the same thing every time. And my iPod was the same way. It just wasn't that song, right?
Sure.
So I think that was why, and it's actually, it's a pretty good seller. So on that note, though, fun side note, let's jump into kind of, I guess we're just here to talk about current events. That's mostly it. Because all we've been doing is talking back and forth about it, which is fun, but it doesn't seem to get anywhere, and while podcasts, on the other hand, also don't really go anywhere, they definitely go way further than just one-on-one conversation. Joe Rogan is a great example of that, Ben Shapiro, Dave Rubin, all of our favorite commentators on YouTube, essentially.
So, I had a guy at my work, actually, who was like 37 years old, married, got like 3 kids, older guy, just, normal dude, just...
like lock this chair in place so I don't lean far back off the camera.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't do that. But anyway, just, run-of-the-mill dude, never would have really expect, him to talk or bring up Joe Rogan. And I didn't even bring it up, and just the other day at work, he's like, yeah, so I was watching, you ever heard of the Joe Rogan Experience? I'm like, right? Excuse me?
Man.
He's like, my man is like, I was watching this one with, he was literally brought up Alex Jones, and I'm like,
yeah,
what?
Right?
You're talking to me about this?
That one, funny enough, that one is from what I understand, the most downloaded and watched podcast on the channel.
Which makes
downloaded
sense.
For sure, from what I've heard, watched. I don't know if that's any different, but I mean, they even brought it up in episode 1000 with Tom Segura and Joey Diaz, right? Tom Segura was talking about all the time people from all walks of life know about the Joe Rogan Experience, which is interesting because they don't get 90 million views like every day, bro.
Like every fucking day, bro.
But on the other hand, I expected a lot of those, since they're like 1 to 3 hour podcasts with 10-ish, well, depends on which ones, right? But anywhere from 1 to 10, I think the Alex Jones one's 40? I want to guess? I'm
sure.
Shit, I'm just looking it up right here.
You got the computer.
Yeah, exactly.
And why aren't you using it?
I'm just looking it up here. But I think what it shows, like 90 million on a music video, just shows people listening to the music video over and over. Not in a row necessarily, but
90 million.
Yeah. The play count on Spotify is a large part people listening to the same song over and over, or going back to it, each time. Alright, let's see. Videos, Joe Rogan, date.
Dangle makes me look fat.
Popular. Okay, so it's 4.6 million on the Alex Jones Eddie Bravo podcast.
Good one.
3.2 Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Ooh.
2.5 round up by 10,000.
Sure.
But 2.5 on Bill Burr. 2.5. Weird. This is technically a more
Just
higher viewed episode, but
maybe
Ben Shapiro's at 2.5 million.
Has he had Milo on?
Yeah, twice. He had Bill Burr on 3 times.
Well, Milo's not beating Ben in that.
Yeah, and the views on that particular episode, right? He's pretty. He's right here at 1.6 and 1.5. And I bet if he went on again, he'd probably get way more at this point, because the last time he was on the Joe Rogan Experience, Milo Yiannopoulos, was 1 year ago, which, whether that means exactly 12 months or not, because the...
Sure.
He was on 1 year ago, and also 1 year ago, but I think there were 6 months in between them. The point being, these were, all walks of life come into these shows, and they kind of what inspired me and us to have our own conversation about these things, because, goddamn, is it really depressing out there, man? I downloaded the Associated Press news.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, if it's left-wing, right-wing, neutral, it just seems like I just get headlines. Judge for myself. As you should, of course. Always judge for yourself.
Read on your own. Make your own, research.
God, yeah, right? So on my Facebook, you liked it, obviously, but on my Facebook I have that post for that article. It was like, good point, and then you just had to somehow connect it to Milo Yiannopoulos, and it just went so downhill because everything you said was just wrong after that point.
Right.
But okay, whatever, right? So just outside of just the headlines, a lot of the time, even the articles can be misinformed. My favorite part about that article, man.
Yeah.
The only reason I even commented on it, outside of just my own personal, what an idiot, right? Is that it says, quote, even a cursory Google search would show, blank the following, which was just negative shit about Milo Yiannopoulos. It's like, no shit! Duh! Any real research that goes into this would show that that's just wrong.
Most of the stuff they post about it is just clickbait.
Yeah, it's just a cursory Google search. Dude, if you... Ah, man, I hate that concept of... Any quick research... Okay, so what about any real research? But on to... kind of the primary topic, I guess. I want to talk about some of the things I saw on the same note and go over kind of, I guess just what's going on in the world, essentially. Most of the people should already know about this, who are watching, I would hope, but if they're not, hey, there's a good way to find out.
Maybe this is just really far in the future, somebody's watching this and it's a thing of the past.
Yeah, it's a time capsule.
It's a time capsule. I mean, we'll probably watch it in 20 years, like, what the fuck were we doing?
So, okay. Let's see, you're telling us about an hour ago, Duke University, cool. So, let's just kind of read down this list of headlines real quick. And, do you know Dick Gregory? Comedian?
No.
Never heard of him, but he was a civil rights activist and apparently he died today.
Well...
R.I.P. Don't
Sorry,
know who he is, I guess.
Sorry for your loss.
Iraq forces begin operation to retake Tel Afar from IS. Good. Don't know enough about that or care too much. I do
have actually a lot of friends in the military, one of which who lives with me, who's actually moving out at the end of the week and to New York to some fort in New York, because a lot of military units are going active and getting ready to ship out, which is something that could be correlated to that. Mm-hmm. You bring it up.
Now, this is Iraqi forces, but yeah.
He's saying a lot of U.S. military forces may be in correlation with, little old Korea out there, waving a big stick.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to that one. Good
waving
lord.
a big stick.
Man, we'll get to Korea, I think.
I think my favorite one is just one of a meme of, and memes are such a good way to convey political things, like just things going on in society, and to a T is an advisor, I'm assuming that's who he is, or his capacity to the leader of North Korea, leaning over to him, and they're both leaning towards each other, and he looks concerned, and just, it appears America's not afraid of you, even after, threatening them, and he's just, what?
Dude, I'm subscribed to dank memes on Reddit, and it's literally, some of them are good, but But it's mostly about people being
Most
like...
of them are dank?
No, it's most of them are people going, what about this kind of format? They're like testing that idea
the
of
test
like...
grounds.
Yeah. Like, let's take this photo and add a caption to it and see how funny we can make it kind of thing. Duke University removes damaged Robert E. Lee statue. I'll look through this.
Are they replacing or just removing? Because that would be a completely different thing.
Okay, so here, this is what I figured, right?
Sure.
The title, to me, implies it's a damaged statue, and therefore, it should be removed. Now, it doesn't say anything about replacing.
Okay.
It doesn't say anything about... But the very first line, early Saturday after it was vandalized amid a national debate about monuments to the Confederacy. So they're removing it almost immediately after it took place, right?
So how about this? On top of that, the same, Confederate monuments, I have a lot of friends actually that went to the same university I went to that are from Hawaii, and they have a lot of monuments to people that conquered Hawaii. And a lot of Hawaiian natives don't really care for those people because they took their land away from their people. And there's a lot of monuments to those guys in Hawaii, and nobody has an uproar about that. It's the same kind of thing as,
Yeah,
So
it's muddled by the media, but it's a really clear-cut case.
Yeah.
To me. First of all, I guess I'll put my stance down on it. I don't really care in the slightest whether or not these monuments are removed. But if you are going to remove them, they personally should not just be removed and destroyed. They need to be removed and then put into a museum. Because it's history.
History, good or bad, is still history.
Exactly.
And shouldn't be taken away.
No one cares in reality. It's just these very small groups. It doesn't matter if they're thousands, it's still small. Thousands is very small. Groups of people who are, just up in arms about whatever. And I like the way Ben Shapiro put it, where these white nationalists and these white supremacists, which, his point was they chose this because they knew that they would look like less of the bad guys. Now, that's weird to me because they just look like idiots anyways. But now they don't look like the bad guys when it's, Antifa out there. There's no... So,
no, I understand.
I want to preface and say I don't think it's... No, never mind. The guy that was driving the car was revealed. He was I would put quotes, but I don't know for sure. Just based on the articles I read, he was a troubled guy, white supremacist kind of guy.
Scum of the earth. Cool.
But I don't know the guy, so I don't have any validity to the statement. However, that being said, a lot of the violence at Charlottesville, and in Boston, which we'll get to in just a second, because that's more recent today kind of thing. It's violent Antifa who are being promoted essentially in the media for doing the right thing, which is insane that it's actually being normalized. But on that same note, the idea that the violent Antifa is committing the same acts of violence, whereas the white supremacists, neo-Nazis were the ones who weren't actually peacefully standing by. But that's kind of like the premise. Most people don't care about whether these statues go up or down. But the white supremacists want it to stay up. And most people, if they had to choose, would say, well, yeah, I'd like to leave them or at least put them in a museum of some kind, right?
They're indifferent.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you had to pick a side, you'd pick on the side personally of, just leave it up. Doesn't matter, right? So the idea...
But I don't have anything against
I'll just summarize the Ben
person
Shapiro point.
stood for, so I don't have...
It wasn't a big deal, so it makes it look like the white supremacists were less crazy than they actually are. Which is hard for me to convey and understand because about them. They're still crazy.
Yeah.
And then furthermore, there's the separation, of course, between the white supremacists and the alt-right, which by no definition are bad people. Just a term coined. First of all, it's just a label for anyone who's deemed not a progressive, hardcore liberal, essentially, right? You're bigoted, misogynistic, racist, white supremacist.
Fascist.
Oh my god, yeah, fascist. Please, dear God, I'm not the one standing out there in a fucking balaclava fighting people, trying to be anti-fascist. Okay, you clearly... And that's a struggle I don't understand in the slightest how to deal with those kind of people.
What, the anti-fascists that are being more fascist than the fascists?
Because to me, you go, you're an idiot. How do you not even recognize what you're doing? And the fact that I can't even compute that means I have no idea how to convey to them.
And that's what gave me the idea for one of the characters that I was talking about, the guy in the prison cell that's so much of a fascist, that's yelling anti-fascist things that he's so fascist himself trying to silence everybody else.
So, oh my god, okay. So I want to take that and transition into kind of something more, I don't want to focus specifically on individual events, but kind of more about the overarching, wherever we go with it, we go with it. But
sure.
I want to focus more on the overarching problem here, and that problem is going to be, of course, the free speech, and really people just getting off, I won't even say they're high horse, because it's not a high horse, it's not a moral ground that you're on, right? It's just, I can't even think of what to call it. It's just insanity to me. Things that are so normal and rational in my mind, and most of the people I talk to, which says a little bit about an echo chamber that we exist within among our groups. You know, Antifa exists within an Antifa echo chamber. You and I live within our own echo chamber. But at least we're smart enough and willing enough to go out and get different ideas, different opinions, and we're open to changing our ideas and opinions, which we've both done pretty recently.
As you said, Ben said one of the greatest things is, give me an argument to change my mind.
Yeah.
And I will.
And I will change my mind.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if you can give me an argument that is valid, well thought out, and has good points, then why would I not change my mind? Like,
exactly.
that would be the worst thing to be, somebody so stubborn.
What ends up happening, and here's where I've got these notes for. On this Duke University article, right? Duke University President Vincent Price said in a letter to campus community that he consulted with faculty, staff, students, and alumni before deciding to remove the statue. Quote, I took this course of action to protect Duke Chapel, to ensure the vital safety of students and community members who worship there, and above all, express the deep and abiding values of our university. Price, end quote, Price said in the letter. Sounds like a load of shit to me. And the reason why, first of all, it's a statue. Where's your threat of violence on the statue? And if anything, your threat of violence is from people who you are protecting, essentially. So on the same note, we have here, I have these highlighted, Weston Gobar, another blubbering idiot in my opinion, president of the Black Student Alliance at UVA, says he'll warn incoming black students not to take their safety for granted. That sounds smart.
Sure.
Nobody should take their safety for granted. That's,
yeah, I don't see why that's a problem.
What is it? Sacrifice liberty for security and you deserve neither, right?
Yeah.
But, quote, the message is to work through it and to recognize the world isn't safe, good, and then you lose me. That white supremacy is real and that we have to find ways to deal with that. Now, to be fair, I might have gone a little overboard. The more I read it, the more it's like, okay, you're not factually wrong. White supremacy does exist. But you're just fear-mongering at this point.
Sure.
As Milo's fond of pointing out, like the campus rape culture doesn't exist. You're led to believe that the amount of rape that happens on college campuses is akin to third world countries in Africa, warring tribes and so forth, where rape is like an actual tactic of war.
It does happen on college campuses. Don't get us that's not what you're saying,
yeah, but we're not. We're not really focused on that.
Yeah,
it happens everywhere. Violent crime happens everywhere. But it's the way that you take those things and then try to portray a message to it. And again, a lot of the things we're going to be doing here, because we're inspired by greater and better people than us, we're going to be talking a lot about them and what the things we know from them. So again, Ben Shapiro points out a lot of these problems come not from the conflict, but from the perspective and what ends up happening. Anytime there's some kind of issue, all sides of it try to find some kind of symbol that can point the finger at somebody. Oh, he was a neo-Nazi. Oh, he's a Muslim. Whatever. In some of the situations, sure, that can play a role in it, but it's not the reason, right? It's not just because that dude in Charlottesville was a alt-right white supremacist doesn't mean that everybody that identifies with the alt-right as a conservative is just as mentally ill as that guy was.
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop everybody on the left. That's pretty much what it is. Everybody on the left pointing out that, they're just all blanket statements all the time. Everything's just a blanket statement.
They're all awful.
They're all awful people. It just seemed nuts. So on another note here, after we had Weston Grobar, so I just feel like it's just fear-mongering. It's about, be careful, watch your back. There's no incentive to connect and meet new people. And while most of us are smart enough to recognize that, okay, I'll take that with a grain of salt. I'm sure that some of these things do exist, but I can take care of myself. But you're being trained, you're being ingrained to, instantly pull that victim card. Like, oh God, get away from me kind of thing, as opposed to, who was it? I think Joe Rogan put it way back, maybe even with Milo Yiannopoulos on one of his podcasts, but I remember very specifically, gone are the days, for better or worse, I would say for worse, in this specific example, but gone are the days where, if some inappropriate touching will get you slapped across the face and be like, what the fuck was that, right?
Yeah.
Get your hands off me. Good. Do
that.
that.
I mean, that's what it should be.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be.
But no, you do that. You do that now, and somehow the guy's gonna claim victimhood. It would never work. Because it would be rape against the woman. But it's somehow someone's gonna claim victimhood in this situation as opposed to just standing up for themselves and saying, telling the other person to fuck off.
Yeah.
Which is really what it comes down to, as opposed to withdrawing and having other people deal with your problems, which don't exist, first of all, in many situations. They're just trying to get other people to take care of non-existent problems for them. So here's this next one. Sullivan. I'm missing a part. I believe this is a campus security or campus president, but Hartle said some universities may end up making the... I believe this was a consultant. Hartle said some universities may end up making the uneasy decision to limit protests and rallies on campus. And then the key point here, and not to invite controversial speakers if they are likely to create protests. There is an overarching priority to protect the physical safety of students and the campus community.
That's just censorship. That is 100%
Exactly.
censorship.
That final statement makes sense. Yes.
Yes.
Protect the safety of your students.
Understandable.
Makes sense.
Totally fine. But you don't want to bring people in or let people voice their opinion in groups because you...
And more importantly, they're not just showing up. These are your students inviting these people to speak.
Because they want to hear what they have to say.
Which,
they want an opinion other than what they have
their
available
legal
there.
obligation to do so. Some private universities, of course, can say no. But technically, a public university is under legal obligation to allow that to happen. As we've seen with Milo and several of his...
UC Berkeley.
Yeah, exactly. Berkeley. Well, Berkeley was the big one, obviously, that never even happened. But we saw, I think it was UC Davis, where the whole event was canceled, because those morons marched the stage. And I fucking loved on that video.
Wait, was that? No, that wasn't UC Davis. That was in Chicago. That was...
It might have not have been Davis. I have it right here.
That was the one where they marched on the president.
DePaul
University. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that conversation, what was it? That speech essentially was shut down pretty quickly due to protesters who
have
just
a right
the dumbest variety of protesters.
Like, they have a right to voice their opinion, but they have that event space.
Yeah.
For that reason, and they were trying to. I think they should have been able to get along.
So my favorite part about the whole thing, yes, they should all be able to get along, but they can't, and that's the problem.
I guess my point is because it was a conservative, if Milo was giving a speech towards a conservative, his viewership, right? People want to hear what he has to say, and liberals came in and stopped it. If it had been flipped and it was a liberal speech and conservatives marched in there and stopped it, it would have fucking blew a load. America would be up in arms. But
that's pretty accurate, I would say,
and
given the current state of affairs.
Yeah, and I think that's bullshit that one side gets to say, we get to say what we want, and the other side can't say anything against it, because if you do, you're an asshole.
No. You're a racist, bigoted,
okay, yeah, but
fascist.
It's all-encompassing.
Because the point is, I can be an asshole. You can't stop me.
Yeah.
I mean, Pearls Before... I think I've told you this, but Pearls Before Swine did that strip long ago, before any of this was relevant. I say long ago. It might have just been a couple of years ago.
Sure.
But he did that strip where there was... One of them was voicing their opinions, the other guy was hitting his head against the wall. He was like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm retreating to my safe space, which was great. And it might have been the same comic strip, but it might have been a separate one where that same point, my right to offend supersedes your right to be offended. Meaning, you're welcome to be offended, but that has nothing to do with my right to say what I want and be who I want and believe what I want. So my favorite part about that DePaul University speech was the young, I would assume. I think she's doing, I don't remember which degree she's doing. She's like 20s to 30s, right?
Sure.
Youngish. African-American woman went up on stage to defend Milo and to essentially decry the protesters up there.
Sure.
Talking only about herself, about the hard work she's put into the things, the hard work to prove to herself, to prove to the world, to better herself.
Yeah.
Which Milo applauded, as he rightly should, as the rest of the audience did. What happens here when she's talking only about herself and her experiences and the right for other people to speak? The crowd of protesters just start screaming at her about how they also put in hard work. It's like, yeah, no shit. No one's saying you haven't. No one
this is her
at all is arguing against you.
It's her voice, her opinion, her story.
Yeah, and that's the problem. It's that they're trying to defend things that no one's attacking. No one is fighting you on this, but somehow you feel like you have to attack people almost preemptively to a degree.
Sure.
And even today's Ben Shapiro show talked about how, and today is August 19th, just for reference, Saturday, August 19th, when we're recording this. The Ben Shapiro show talked about how fascists, before the rise of the Nazi Party, fascists exist and they fought against communists. And then there was a lot of losses on both sides. And I'm just summarizing here really quickly, obviously, but it was the fact that the parties were constantly fighting and losing members, and a large, considerable death toll of, I believe, 10,000 at some point, directly attributed to this idea that is what brought the Nazi power to party. Party to power.
Words are hard. Cider is good.
Because that was the rallying cry. We are losing people. We are losing soldiers. We are losing citizens to these...
Unite under this.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we're seeing. It's like, you and I were indifferent for the most part for quite some time, up until we started seeing much bigger real effects of what Antifa and what is at this point a radicalized left that used to be the opposite. Well, I will say it used to be the opposite. I wasn't alive, or at least I wasn't, aware enough of the world and politics to say that the right was ever radicalized. Maybe. But definitely now I would say that radicalized left is causing way more harm than they are good, and they don't even recognize it. So, moving forward, let's see here. Check. This is a great picture I want to show you. How does this make any sense to you?
This opponents of Dallas statue.
No, just the picture. So, put this on. Just show this up here real quick. So this picture is just nuts. Here you are defending. Well, I don't even know what the fuck you're defending.
Yeah,
Stop pretending your racism is patriotism. First of all, you clearly don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Second of all, you are standing there with a helmet, glasses, and a face mask.
Why are you hiding?
Yeah, who exactly here is defending? To be fair, you're not talking about fascism or anything, but it's completely counterintuitive.
If you're trying to not attack racism, but tear down racism, why are you hiding yourself? Why are you afraid to show who you are?
But the point is, though, it doesn't really exist. That's kind of the thing we're approaching here. There are people who are racist.
Yeah.
But people aren't racist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What
is the best way to put it? Not everyone who supports Trump is a racist, bigoted, sexist, fascist. I'm done.
But the people that do,
that are Trump supporters. There you go.
Yes,
yeah, right.
That's 100% true.
So, but you're getting lumped into kind of that same category. And just for reference, I'm indifferent to Trump. When I was I didn't vote for. I voted, but not for a president because I said, "Good Lord, these are all atrocious."
Yeah.
And of course, I accept my responsibility for the fact that I should have been more of an active participant and will be a more active participant because of this in future elections and not just the important ones, right? But like of all of them because they're all important. Which is something that a lot of us have learned the hard way. Because again, who was it? Not who was it, but just all of us were. Oh yeah, even before the election, I had some ideas that Trump was probably going to have a close race, but no one thought he would win except for a select few, right? Who kind of had that better idea of, oh no, you don't quite understand the silent majority that's going on here. But I'm kind of impartial to it. He said a lot of dumb things, and he's done a lot of dumb things.
Still says a lot of dumb things. And
yeah.
Still does a lot of dumb things.
Exactly.
Guy's not smart.
On the other hand, he's not... Well, I disagree on that part.
Well,
he just has a filter, which is a very separate issue. Even recently, he pointed out, which I give him credit for, and then of course he just he was on a great track,
and then he derailed himself?
Yeah, he just derailed himself, but he decried both the far right and the violent right, neo-Nazis and fascists, or whatever you want to call them.
Sure.
I'm so done trying to name all
just
the
whatever
titles at the same time, right?
Sure.
And then he also decried the violent left. He called it out multiple times. And he did it in such a way that it's so hard to take him seriously. But it made sense. It was true. You have radicalized, violent leftists who think that they're in the right committing these acts. Berkeley burning. Up cats? Oh, hey, Crystal. I thought you were cats. Rain.
That'd be cool.
Okay, so doors are open now. We're in a little pause, and it's so hot in here. It is only
10:30.
Well, yeah, but 61 degrees is what I was going for.
Oh, that breeze!
Yeah, but god damn is this office hot. So, back on the same topic. Violent, radicalized left. First of all, is the real reason I'm terrified now of... I'm terrified might be a little bit of a stretch, right? But at least active in what's going on now that I'm seeing the reality that's going on around us, that what I thought was the situation really wasn't. And it was framed very nicely as, again, everyone study history, because as is a very common phrase, if you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat it. Well, as Winston Churchill said, don't quote me on this, but I'm quoting because it's what I've heard. But it's a Churchill statement of, you're born a liberal and you grow into a conservative, because as you are raised, regardless of whether or not everything's handed to you or not, the idea of equality for everyone is very appealing. It just simply makes sense. Duh. Then real life hits you and you have bills to pay, you have a limited supply of jobs, you have a limited supply of income for the world in general, up until, 50 years from now when everything's 3D, when food and everything's 3D printed.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Star Trek style.
God, I wish that was a thing.
But when reality hits you, then things start to become a little more conservative leaning, essentially, because people are more worried about their livelihood, and it makes sense. If real life is hitting you, which I've said multiple times now at this point, but that's kind of the main factor. You've got real problems here. We're skimming through. We have North Korea, which isn't a huge issue per se, but it could be out of nowhere. Just at the moment, it doesn't quite seem to be.
Sure. And
hopefully never becomes that way. But Russia, very large threat to a certain degree. Not necessarily in an overt, we're going to go to war, but constant hacking going on and so on and so forth. It's just we're not Jesus hostile entities necessarily, but it is a big threat. Islam, which I'm unabashedly is a big threat, in my opinion, to all of Western culture, and it has been since it existed, not because of the culture itself. Actually, no, I would argue it is because of itself. Again, there are good Muslims.
Yeah.
But Islam is not good. And the reason why is because you have no centralized command or authority, essentially. and this isn't necessarily, well, I'm not gonna qualify any of this. This is criticism of what I believe is a faulted ideology, because it's simply, you can, like Mormons, I love Mormons just due to the way some of them are just insane to me, but the majority of them use their religion not as a way to be better than you, but as a moral compass, as many Christians
to be better than themselves.
Yeah, as many Christians do, of all kinds, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about being a better person. But when you're speaking of Islam is about basically stamping out anyone who doesn't disagree with you. It's literally what it says: destroy your enemies, destroy the enemies of God. And it's Jefferson knew it, Washington, the founding fathers all knew it, and they discussed it in their historical texts about it, that Islam is a threat to Western society, and it always has been, and it potentially always will be until mainstream Muslims do something about it, because we kind of can't.
It's not our religion to change, not our religion to judge.
First of all, it just wouldn't work if we just come in and be like, this is how things are now. Obviously, it doesn't work that way.
They would rebel even more and hate the
exactly.
culture even more, which is not what
part
we
of
want.
What they already do. But it's really easy to justify their actions because they're only justifying to themselves and God. Whatever they do is good in the eyes of God, as long as they, pray to Mecca every day, 5 times a day. So, whereas again, Christianity is more about being a better person, not about necessarily forcing yourself upon others, and like the whole cake bakery thing with the gay wedding. Yeah, we've talked about this a couple times, but my opinion on that is again the same as what I would feel most people's opinions on that are.
They don't want to make the cake. They shouldn't have to make the cake.
Yeah, it's like I'd rather not. Personally, that doesn't make them bigots, right? That's the word, bigots. I don't remember even which one that applies to.
I think so.
Homophobic. There we go.
Homophobic, yeah.
Kind of both, really. But it doesn't make them homophobes. It doesn't make them bigots. It just rather not. Right? As my dad likes to say, if I want to hire, racist black midgets at my company, I should be able to. Company probably won't do well, but I should be allowed to do that. That is my right, and that is their right to want to come work for me. But that has nothing to do with the fact that the business probably won't succeed, and that people probably won't like you for the practices you use. Doesn't change the fact that you still have the right to practice those things.
Yeah.
Similarly, I have no problem with people practicing any religion, any cultural beliefs. But it's very different when you don't really do anything about those in your group who are... as much as I hate to say it, if there's one thing you can say Antifa has kind of going for them, with a lot of eye-rolling and sarcasm there, they're at least attempting to do something that they believe in, even if it's misguided. And both their beliefs and the way they're going about doing it. What you come across is just this idea that, really, it doesn't even matter about the people here. It's more about the people coming. That this melting pot of society that has proven to be the single most successful society in human existence to date, without exception at all. Now you could compare certain technological differences and ideas.
Japan's pretty successful.
Yeah, thanks to the West. They've always been fine, and I'm not saying we've given the world everything they have.
No, yeah, I agree.
But the fact that Western culture, Western ideology have spread around the world, and it has achieved an unparalleled success that has never before been seen throughout history. Part of it due to the technological advancements, but again, those technological advancements were because of the West, right? It doesn't make it a good or a bad thing, but the point is people come here because they recognize it for what it is. They recognize that they are getting away from these outdated, these older ideologies and governing methods and policies and so forth. And while we have our own set of problems, by no means are we perfect.
We have a lot of problems.
Exactly. That what we're missing now, though, is the part where people used to come over or even, when even us who are raised here, it's like, you don't see us wanting to leave because this is the fucking best. I wouldn't mind living in Japan. I wouldn't mind living,
for a while.
Yeah, if I spoke the language, and I wasn't crammed inside a big city. Like, that's the main thing. When you speak of Japan, right, it's Tokyo and some of the other really big cities. But I would happily live in a suburb of some kind or a country home of some kind. It'd be great. Love it. Countryside's beautiful.
Food's great.
People are just as good
kind.
as really anywhere else. Actually, I would argue they're
way
significantly more kind because...
Oh, yeah. Culture.
Yeah, because they have a very group... Well, so Western ideology, the biggest criticism that I have of it in terms of... Which is only criticism... It's a criticism that only exists because of the things that make it good. This idea of individualism also turns people against each other. Japan very much, and the West and Asian cultures very much have a very inclusive group good ideal, which makes them not forcibly, but just inherently much more open and welcoming to each other. It's very much about being polite and being,
one thing
understanding of other people.
Read stories of, and I think is great, which is a big difference between Asian cultures and especially America, is that students, like young students, first, second grade, they ride public transit without adults. They travel the city on their own without fear.
Oh, I know.
And then there's America, which is the exact polar opposite of that, which don't go outside into the front lawn without your mom watching you.
Yeah, and security cameras everywhere. It's like, good lord.
And in Asian cultures like that, it's like totally normal, just kids, first,
now,
second grade.
on the other hand, there's a huge, underworld over there as well, which is...
I'm not saying there isn't, but I'm saying that kind of group trust and just, we are all here together, we are not here to hurt each other, we understand that. There's a small group that does, yes, but a vast majority
generally you have people looking out for that.
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
and if you're on a subway and a kid screams no, I don't think any one of those millions of sardines crammed in that tin is going to just look and not help the kid.
Hopefully.
But,
I agree
with that type of culture,
sure.
because it's not the culture I was brought up in, but from what I've read, it's safe.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a big fan
and
of
I admire that a lot.
It's a big reason why I'm a fan of JRPGs and animes in general, because they went from super cheesy as a kid to, especially now that the translations have gotten way better, which is a big part. Even the subs translation are way better, which I prefer in anime. But in even JRPGs, they tell way more intricate, detailed, deep stories about all sorts of things, ranging from important to negligible. But still, the fact that they can take a negligible concept and turn it into something so fascinating is amazing. And part of the way they do that is by these, you bypass... What makes anime cringy to a lot of people is the overt emotion displayed by all the characters. But what I've recognized is that the reason they do that, at least my guess to a degree without any way to confirm, is the reason this happens is because it's about rapidly developing characters so you get an idea of who they are, and then putting them into a challenge. Seeing how do they grow, how do they evolve. A lot of shows are about, especially a lot of American shows are about the individual and about the growth and the cycle they go through, which of course is very similar to anime of any kind. But I feel like the anime is, first of all, being an animation, you can do way more.
Yeah, it's
you're not bound by laws of reality. First of all,
you could have a purple cucumber as your main character who rolls down a hill constantly, and that is it.
Is that based on something?
No, I just literally pulled the most random thing out of the world that I could imagine.
All right.
But you know what I mean? Just that could be a thing, and if there was a market for it, could be used. But
also, most people who aren't familiar with it, I would think, mix up anime with hentai, which of course are very separate, but it's still animation.
I mean, I don't really know about that. Same. It's right next to each other.
I'm just flipping through it on the channels. I don't.
I mean, my search history is hentai right next to anime. I mean, it's one and the same to me.
I like it because you're not bound by the laws of reality, and it basically allows
One
you
Punch.
to really. Yeah, I mean, One Punch is a great example.
Yeah.
That is a show that is so on the surface level so dumb of a dude that can just, but it's about the struggle of shit. What do you do now that
There's
infinite
nothing.
boredom? It's infinite boredom.
Yeah.
What do you do with that? Nier Automata, fucking fantastic storyline because it literally asks the question, both in the story and on a meta level as a player, what does it mean to be human? It's motivation.
Yeah.
Motivation is what it means to be human. In terms of the game, there's a lot of other things to it, but that's kind of the summary. An autonomous robot, or android in the game, right? The only reason the whole thing exists, spoilers, before I go anywhere else, the whole reason that whole concept exists within the game is because, and we've gone over this, but again, for the podcast's sakes here, if there's nothing to fight for, what do? Well, nothing. Fighting is their sole purpose for existence at the moment, and that's why it's a lie. The whole game is effectively a lie predicated around humans existing and needing to take back Earth. So, you know, I really want a third season of Tokyo Ghoul. Fucking fantastic anime. I was like, just lost my shit. It was one of those where I was like, I started it, and it's like, it's alright. And then I went back and I watched it again. I was like, oh my god, I have to watch all of these now. Same with Attack on Titan. I watched the first 3 dub, and I was like, they're kids and they're really fucking whiny, and it's really, oh my god, so droll. And then like a year later, or maybe even 2 years later, whatever, when I heard season 2 of Attack on Titan was coming out, I was like, alright, I'll give it another chance. And for reference, you know, I started watching the subs, which I enjoyed a lot more. And oh my god, I just like binged 4 through the rest of season 1. It just immediately, first of all, episode 4 is where it's the training and they transition into adults.
Okay.
But like right after that point, it's just non-stop action, suspense, interesting drama, which is the important part.
Sure, not just drama for drama, not Dragon Ball Z drama.
Yeah, and I guess I've heard it before. It's idiot proof. And shows that aren't idiot. What's the best way to put it? Basically, if your plot relies on a character doing something that everybody in the audience would go, nobody would fucking do that. That's not an idiot proof plot. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that's I was just in France. I had to go, and that's why it's so successful. Same with Death Note, which I haven't gotten through, and I won't probably because it's got so many.
You've never
episodes.
watched Death Note?
I've watched it, but I've never seen the.
It's not
entirety.
so many episodes. It's one season.
Only one season.
It's one season.
Okay, I might get around to
Is
it.
it?
Some
Unless there's more.
of the older ones.
Unless there's more to Death Note than I knew about.
Some
But
of the older animes I had struggled with because they were cheesy back in the day. They were definitely cheesy back in the day, and the newer ones I felt were much more fitting in terms of.
it's a manga
stories and
series, but I mean, as far as the TV show goes,
Fair enough. Maybe I'll get around to it.
I'd also like to bring up the point of whenever we talk about shit, it comes back to anime. Like a lot of shit we talk about comes back to anime. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean it's a big rabbit hole, and that's what we're here for, right? On that note, anime originating in Japan. Originating might not be the right word, but as far as I know, originating in Japan, right?
Yeah.
Well, Japan's been a culture for a long time. Far longer than most. Not everybody, obviously, than most. And not only more than most.
37 episodes as far as the anime TV. There
Not too
are.
That's like 2.5 seasons. Even if it's all crammed into one season.
Maybe
generally
it is 2.5
the anime
seasons.
episodes are.
It's 06 to 07, October 06 to June 2007. So 1 year, like 37 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an episode every 10 days. Which.
Yeah.
Or like 9 days or something like that.
Yeah. I'll probably get around to it at some point. Although to be fair, literally just today I watched a Wisecrack video. It was 20 minutes long about the philosophy of Death Note.
Yeah.
And obviously, so I First of all, I already know what it is. Second of all,
I've already seen the whole.
I think I read a lot of the manga when I was younger. It's been out for a while. I was through. I finished the Naruto manga up to, and this is obviously really, really old, back when I was reading it. But I remember waiting for the next manga to come out for Naruto, and it was just like during the during whatever they go bottom tier to middle tier,
Yeah.
and then they go to the top tier eventually.
Yeah.
It was during the trials for the middle tier, towards the end of it, when whatever the main bad dude shows up and, you know, fucks up the final show, and
Oh no!
Gaara transforms into his thing, and he's the secret weapon and such. I was waiting for the manga to come out in the US, and it's probably been out for a while elsewhere, right? But that's how dated, I guess you could say it is. I'm not that old, right? But I remember it's like, when's the new Naruto book coming out? And that shit's so old at this point that they're so far past that. Hundreds and hundreds of episodes, I think, honestly, including a whole new series of their kids,
Grandkids even.
Oh, is it grandkids?
I think it's
Oh my
grandkids.
God.
I think it's Naruto's grandson.
I wonder if it just bypasses the kids then. I feel like who knows? Whatever. But so I think a lot of the reason why it comes back to anime is because anime draws a lot of their ideas from philosophical questions and ideas that have been there for a long time. Because while Japan's not necessarily the oldest civilization in history, it is one of the oldest civilized societies in history.
Mm-hmm.
While, you know, the Mongols and the Middle East and Europe were in the Dark Ages, Japan had plenty of violence and war, but it was still very cultured within their certain segments, whereas very little of the rest of the world was by any means, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you have these just thousands of years of experience and knowledge and history and so forth passed down that really gives them this upper hand, like, without question. One of the best games of all time, Soul Series.
Oh, yes.
Unquestionably to me. And
the best games.
Full Japanese-based thing.
If you argue that, you're dumb. You're a dumb.
Right.
I mean,
it's all opinion-based, but sure.
Yeah, my opinion is if you don't think Souls is the best game ever, you're a dumb. Like,
that's, you know, the same reason I wasn't a big fan of The Witcher. As much as it's a great game, it's just like the combat was so dull and boring and repetitive.
Yes.
Great story, really boring combat. It just went
great
on.
Gwent though.
Yeah, Gwent.
If the combat was anything like Gwent, I would have put thousands of hours into that game.
I
played the game just to get onto new Gwent quests, to be honest.
I could be wrong, but I believe I read that there was a mod that turned combat encounters into Gwent games. I think. Just saying.
I would have played the shit out of that game.
Know, right?
If you couldn't tell, I love Gwent.
Do you have the app yet? I think you're playing it. It's right here.
I thought it was just on your desktop.
That's right. Yes, the desktop application.
Well, I was assuming you're like a mobile app, which
No, but
I'm
yeah,
assuming
it's,
there also is a mobile app.
I don't think so yet. I think it's technically still beta. That's why it's not mobile yet. Presumably, I haven't bothered.
I don't want to beat you at one.
It's so good.
So good.
So, where do you want to go from there? So, anime, right? Attack on Titan, okay, cool. Gangsta was good. Not the best one, but I love the intro. It was a big enough show.
One Punch Man.
One Punch Man.
Is there going to be season 2? I'm assuming so.
I would think so. At some point.
There wasn't like a.
There wasn't
closing,
a huge cliffhanger.
Yeah, like it wasn't a cliffhanger,
yeah,
and they didn't close
it,
up.
but
Exactly.
they also didn't leave a cliffhanger. Yeah.
And they did lead it to him. He wasn't also a Class S hero yet. So
Technically.
Sure.
Whatever. What I want, Mob Psycho 100. Give me season 2. Dear God.
I haven't seen season 1.
I'm pretty sure it's because it's subbed only. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's subbed only.
I can give subs a chance, but it just I normally watch subs when I'm inebriated.
Yeah.
And
Here's
sorry, I watch animes when I'm inebriated, and so that's why
so it's hard to read the subs.
Dubs
yeah.
work for me really well because I can't
Here's
keep up with the
the thing
reading.
that I love about Mob Psycho, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's literally a story about me. It's just a younger version of me, right? It's a dude who has literally no fucking emotions up until his stress level hits 100%, and then he just fucking explodes in, of course, classic anime, super awesome art style and so forth, right? That I was like, I could totally relate to that.
I've done that before.
Yeah. But it's not even necessarily done that before. It's more about the idea of doing that, right? It's like the kid's so ignorant, so emotionless. But man, if you trigger him, like legitimately trigger him, not your snowflake triggering.
I was about to say,
right?
Are we talking, what kind of triggers are we talking?
Exactly.
Here?
Not your snowflake trigger, but when you actually trigger him, like man, the show is so good. I cannot wait for the next season, if and when. Same with Attack on Titan Season 3, which of course left us on a huge cliffhanger, as they do. But Tokyo Ghoul, I believe, was canceled.
Why?
I don't know. You could tell, though. The end of Season 2 was really good, but god damn, did certain things drag out so much longer than
Did you ever watch Soul Eater?
No.
I really like Soul Eater, and I think you might like
Netflix?
it. It was at one point on Netflix. Is it currently? Don't know because I already watched it. So
Death Eater, you said, right?
Death Eater, yeah.
I've heard of it.
Sorry,
for sure.
Soul Eater.
Soul Eater, okay. I definitely
The
heard
Death
of it.
Note, Soul Eater.
Yeah.
I think we just went from trying to talk about political events to talking about animes we both need to
Trying?
watch.
What are you talking about?
We just moved from
I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix, but I don't necessarily know if that means it's dubbed.
Mm-hmm.
Knights of Cydonia.
Yes.
Seen it? Or no?
I think I watched the first 2 episodes, but not that I lost interest. I just got busy.
Yeah, again, like many animes, first of all, if we're on the topic of animes, ReZero.
If we're on the topic of animes, when are we not on the topic of animes, Jaden?
Well, okay, but again, point is, ReZero. You've seen it, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Hands down, probably one of the best. For me, top 5, easily. If I had to do top 3,
Top 5,
I'm not sure. But definitely top 5. But it's one of those ones that, when I heard about it, and I think I've said this to you, right? If you want to watch ReZero, you have to watch the first 3 episodes in a row, and then judge whether or not you want to finish the rest of it. What did I do? I watched episode 1, I watched episode 2, I was like, it's kind of cheesy, it's not,
Also,
and then I watched episode 2, I was like, holy shit, I gotta watch the rest! Oh my god, please, I gotta watch the rest!
Also, did you ever watch the Netflix original, the anime? It's in English. I mean, there is a Japanese dub, which is weird to say for him. Japanese dub.
Gangster was that way too. It was like certain things have been subtitled over in Japanese, even though they speak in Japanese, and it was due to like character likeness or something. It didn't really make sense.
Anyway,
to me,
the Netflix original, 7 Deadly Sins.
this is for podcast because obviously we watched that together.
Did we watch all
we
of
watched,
it together?
No, we watched a couple of them. I still haven't really got that into
I was asking if you'd watched it, because it does get so fucking.
In terms of what though? Because it's not the action. It's one of those things like the action has to be interesting, which
It definitely
really
is.
But God, the characters just make me want to make my balls shrivel up inside and make me want to. It's cringy as fuck. Which is again the problem I have with most older animes is that they have really good moments, if not really good overarching things. But there are just so many parts of just like, oh my God, why would you say that? Why would you do that? That is so dumb.
Random tangent. Went out on a date with a girl recently, and she has a corgi.
Standing ovation.
Woo! I did it, guys! I did it! Anyway, she was like, yeah, so I ended up getting this dog. I got a corgi specifically. I was looking for a rescue corgi, which don't exist, so I bought a corgi puppy. Named him Einstein. I'm like, wait. He's like, yeah, after Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah,
I'm like, no.
yeah.
He's like, you referenced, you got a dog because of Cowboy Bebop. He's like,
fuck yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a second date. I didn't fuck up the first one in reference. So there's hope.
Right. So
not just
Knights
for me.
of Cydonia, I think, had really. So it's got to have a good story and it's got to have engaging characters, and I think Cydonia did that really well for me because it did a couple things. It had some interesting characters. Man, the concepts were really fucking cool too. I think I've told you this before, but if I ever get a tattoo, the first one's gonna be one of the 2 main antagonists and protagonists from Knights of Cydonia, either Samugi or the Crimson Hawkmoth, because they're just like I've never seen. I won't say never, but I remember whenever I picture those characters, they're just so fucking cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is so awesome. You have just these massive, because it's in space. So
yeah.
like the scale in your head is like you can't
Can't
really put the scale to it, essentially. It's so cool.
Also, Gundam, if we're talking space and giant fucking robots, Gundam was just
Right?
something that I loved knowing growing up.
And then, so the other thing
also, random tangent. Apparently I'm doing this tomorrow morning.
Yoga and beer? Alright.
10:30 in the morning. I'm gonna go do some yoga and drink beer.
Hell yeah.
So, that'll be fun.
So one of the other things about Knights of Cydonia that I'm pretty comfortable saying is that, because at the time I wasn't, but it had a weird effect on it's not like an effect on your sexuality, but just like there was so much overt.
Do you need to talk about something?
Yeah, right. But there was so much interesting overt design choices that are like, that is so penis shaped. Like this, like
that looks like a dick.
Yeah, but like so much of it is like that. Down to fucking like the head, the bulb head, and the slit. You're like,
I know what they look like, Jaden. I have one, right? Don't describe it.
Well, the point is, I'm watching. I'm just like, what the fuck? These characters are so cool, but it hurts my head. Exactly. And then the other thing was the idea that there's two other things. There's the chick who's cloned. There's several of them. And the third one, which I thought was the most interesting, is that the one character was gender neutral. It wasn't that it was like a transgender. It was literally gender neutral until it found a partner, and then it became a gender, which I thought was really interesting as a concept, because that does away with any kind of biological question of
I'm choosing this gender because this is the person I want.
Well, it's not even choosing,
But this is the person that I want, so I'm now this gender.
Yeah, exactly. So seeing that character develop through the show and the rest of the characters was really interesting. But mostly, God, space battles are so cool. God damn.
That kind of brings up when you're talking about the phallic symbols, a quote from a movie that is probably just not even remotely.
Totally a Freudian thing.
Yeah, no, well, it's
kinda.
super bad, and it's like all the best foods are penis shaped. I'm like, I mean, a lot of them are.
Hot dogs, bananas,
popsicles, corn dogs, maple bars.
I don't like most of those. Actually, I don't like the ones I named either. I'm generally not a fan.
I mean, steaks can be long and can look like a penis if you're looking straight down on them.
Yeah, also though, on that note, that just seems to me that it's cylindrical. People just say cylindrical is penis shaped.
Fact.
Yeah, right?
Unless you don't have a cylindrical penis, Jaden, in which you might want to get that checked out.
That's my point.
You're not worried about your non-cylindrical penis. Got it, cool.
But that's just the point though, right? It's like, there's that connection, obviously.
Sure.
But to me, first of all, I don't like most of those foods. Second of all, it just seems like a connection between cylindrical objects of any kind, right?
Corn on the cob. Who doesn't love corn on the cob?
Yeah, it's pretty good. But nobody looks at that and goes, man, that's totally dick.
Somebody that's got some real fucked up issues in the head. But I
was thinking you were gonna say a real fucked up dick, because that's what I would think.
That didn't even cross my mind.
It's like 4 inches. It's like massive.
The diameter is all fucking ribbed. There's no balls. It's just...
So, okay. Just to finish up this topic.
About dicks in anime? I'm glad we're here.
No, not in anime.
So we just might as well, we're on hentai at this point. It's fine.
On the Rooster Teeth podcast, they talked about a new record has been set for the longest dick size, and I believe it is like 14-something inches?
Yeah.
That sounds miserable.
That's fine. I can live with it.
Could you though? Because I don't.
No, I am.
First of all,
I'm currently living with it.
No, okay. I see where you're going with that. I don't think your delivery. You gotta work on delivery a little bit.
That's flaccid. No, that's flaccid. Don't ask erect because it.
Well, first of all, medically, that's part of the problem. Pretty much, you can't really get erect to a degree.
You know how much cardio I have to do to get my blood flow going? Like, I have to do a marathon a day just to be able to go home and plow my wife.
Yeah, and then on that note, too, that's not fun for anybody. You can't go all the way in, and they can't take it.
But you do get to go walk around and be like, my dick's bigger than yours. So, in a way, you do win life. You don't get to win at all, but you get to win aspects.
Win on a micro level. Your macro member wins.
Your macro penis wins you on a micro level of life.
Alright. They're all real topics. Let's just do a quick rundown on North Korea.
I mean, it wouldn't take long to run from the top to the bottom because it's such a small fucking country.
Bam! Got him!
Got him! Take that, Kim Jong, whatever the fuck you are.
With the second largest standing military, I believe?
It is true, because everybody there is required. Well, I don't think it's required, but is like basically forced. Yeah. And
yeah, I'm hesitant to speak too much just because it's definitely something where I feel like I know a lot, but I know a lot from people who I don't really know if they know what they're talking about. I mean, I think
Alex Jones.
many of them do. Well, like Milo did an interview with a guy who grew up in Russia, in a lot of research on North Korea, and I think he's been there, but I don't know for sure. Part of it, at some point, you gotta be willing to just kind of accept sources and interviews. But on the other hand, again, I don't want to point out these things that I don't entirely know. What I do know is that if they have missiles that can reach us, that personally feels like a threat, because he and his command team are in fact crazy enough, in my opinion, to bomb the U.S. Well, that would be pretty much the West Coast, which is where we are.
Don't tell them that. Don't put this on the internet and then tell people
that everybody already knows. Our podcast is gonna get 50 views or something. Who knows? Maybe it'll be way more because it's current event based. But
maybe the people of North Korea will finally see the podcast, and this will be the one that's allowed.
Yeah, right.
Like, see what we did to where these people came from.
So it is worrisome that they could hit us. But on the other hand, if they did try to hit us, that would just spell the end for them. I hope.
Well, if you look, we have sitting at the big red button.
Probably again, but that's a hope factor. Personally, I don't doubt it, but it is definitely a hope factor that these are that if we got hit somewhere, that we wouldn't get hit again. Period. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would just be gone.
We wouldn't really get hit more than once. We'd be hit and then
West Coast, California or something. But you know what I mean?
If only. Just hit California, tell people it was Oregon that got hit, and we're fucking golden. They'll never want to move here, and we'll get rid of
move to California and die from radiation poisoning, and there goes our population problem.
Kim Jong-un, or whichever one you are now, we've got it figured out. We're not with you, but if you're gonna do it, aim south.
Alright. Oh man.
I'm not afraid of saying that. Anybody from California, I'm sorry, man. You can be cold.
or dead. Jesus. Maybe it's just a dud.
It is from North Korea. If you look, his haircut. Who does his fucking hair? That fucking guy has the worst haircut. That's the best the country can afford. Imagine what their missile programs can do. I'm sure a high school science team could do better.
So what I am interested to see, though, over the next, next however long, is the threat to launch missiles off the coast of Guam. Because that is something that could, in fact, require a response. If they did that, that would require some kind of response from the U.S. Otherwise, not really.
Not to mention, if they did launch missiles at the U.S., I'm pretty sure our defenses would definitely pick up the missiles coming at us, and there's a lot of anti-missile defense.
Is there? Okay, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know enough about that to say.
Okay,
can we just shoot down any given missile on its way over?
Not any given missile. Like, if they legitimately make a stealth bomber missile, which...
Nah, they would make stealth bomber. It's too expensive. $52 billion to make a stealth bomber, I believe.
That could feed the entire country of North Korea. But he won't.
It might be 52 million, not
no,
billion.
It's definitely
I'm pretty sure it's billion.
It definitely is B. It definitely is
Actually,
B.
yeah, because 52 million wouldn't even build like an F-16.
No, it might get the fucking pilot's seat. Yeah. Like the ejector seat. And that might be it. Like a nameplate.
So they wouldn't be able to do that, but I don't know. And people seem worried. I don't see people on the news going, man, if North Korea launches a missile, it would be really funny because we just shoot it out of the sky. I don't see anybody saying that. Who knows? It's weird that... It comes back to that same issue when we're talking about, America and Charlottesville and all this crap that is only important to us. It's really only important to us.
Well, it is important to us, but, I mean, it does gather global news. And people around the globe have heard about it, know what's going on, but it doesn't affect them.
Well, that's my point, though. But like, a missile strike on the U.S. would affect the whole world.
Oh yeah.
Russia, anything on the U.S. would affect the whole world.
We're like
Chinese,
the really big,
anything.
strong kid on the playground who's a little slow in the head right now. If you get what I mean by head of state, and you throw a rock at him and he's gonna just start swinging.
In general.
But my point is,
just the head of state, but yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm meaning is the slow in the head part is where we're currently at. You throw a rock at him, he's gonna just start swinging with everything he's got, not ask questions. That's kind of where I feel America is right now.
Walk tall, carry a big stick.
Exactly, but different country, same, yeah. But I definitely feel like North Korea is like that kid hiding behind a tree with like a pine cone, just waiting, like, and we've got a big boulder in our hands ready to smash his skull. And he's got a pine cone ready to ting us off the forehead, and we'll fly ours right back. At least my taxpayer dollars will get used for something I want.
But so on the note though, we have clear, real issues around the world. You know, we had many dead. I think triple digits, maybe. Probably not actually quite, but high double-digit numbers just over the last week. Europe, between Barcelona. I don't want to get the names wrong of the other two sites, but there were 2 other attacks in Europe as well. Stabbings, shootings,
and
Barcelona.
Then there was, not as of recent, but I mean recent enough to bring up, is the bombing at the Ariana Grande, but the attack at the Ariana Grande concert.
If you just talk about the last couple of years in general, there's so much
terror attacks.
Yeah, so real problems, really. God, oh my God. So did you I can't remember who said it. I don't know what the search for it, but there was a news dude who was talking about the Barcelona attacks. And just out of nowhere goes, yeah, we're unsure if you know, this is like a copycat attack based on what was happening in Charlottesville and so forth. And Ben Shapiro put it really well, is that the fact that the media really wants to shy away from any kind of radical Muslim terror and bring the focus back to home, back to the white supremacists in Charlottesville and so forth. So the comment though he made on TV is so cringeworthy that you would somehow point towards one mentally ill young man doing something really stupid, and then say that was somehow the inspiration for somebody driving down like one of the primary streets in Barcelona, killing, I think it was like that. That's nuts. That the real focus is Barcelona and the people involved in it, and the people that, you know, there were stabbings that happened afterwards.
Not to demean what happened in Charlottesville, but they're 2 separate things on their own.
Completely unrelated.
And they're both horrible. Both people that did what they did are awful.
Yeah, but vehicles have been used in terror attacks.
Like there's a lady in Las Vegas in the last 2 years who just started running people down the street, like down the strip in Las Vegas, with a kid in the back of her car, like her daughter.
All right.
Yeah, and
I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, but that lasted in the news for a week, and that's because she was African American. But I can't say that because I'm a racist white bigot.
Yeah, you're just a privileged
white man, because I don't know how it is to be judged.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry. Because you didn't know about that news story. Because it lasted for all of a week.
Yeah, right? And that is an interesting concept. You know, I want to bring it up. Let's bring it back to it at any point. But I'm going to bring it away from kind of the events and more about a little more historical relevancy, where this shit just happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It has always happened. And if anything, it's better now than it's ever been. No matter how many people die per day, per week, per event, per terrorist attack.
Yeah. It is better than it has ever been.
It's not unequivocally true. Don't use that in cement, because with modern day weaponry, it becomes much easier to kill people. But historically, people just got slaughtered all the time. Without, you know, that was the way of the world. Better or worse. It's almost embarrassing to talk about it, because humans talking about humans in historical fashions. Like, if you were talking to, say, an alien of some kind, and you had to describe human history, and
look at these idiots.
Yeah, and then we just, like, slaughtered a bunch of people, and then a couple years later we also slaughtered a bunch of other people.
Like you've been abducted into an alien vessel, and they're like, hey, has your civilization ever done anything horrible to anyone's group of people? I'm like,
There was that one time.
No.
And then that other time.
You're playing dumb, trying to save your whole race. Like, no, never did anything. And then they look at some papers like, Hiroshima.
Yeah.
Auschwitz.
We got this one.
It's like,
this
what?
one,
Do you know anything about
that
these?
one.
I know nothing.
Never heard of
Assimilate me, please.
And in certain situations, I think the outrage and the reaction is valid. I think when
okay, so agreed. Like, whenever a tragedy occurs and somebody dies, I don't demean any kind of.
I think the key word there is that it's a tragedy.
Yes.
It's not anything but that. It's just a tragedy, but it's also just life.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's
like, I'm not trying to demean anybody who's hurting or in pain because of a loss. Because that should never be taken away from somebody. Like, if you lost somebody, regardless of the situation, why they're taken, what happened, you cared about them, you loved them, that was your life.
I wouldn't say regardless.
Even the biggest asshole in the world, their mother is still gonna love them.
I mean more of like...
You know what I mean? But like...
Yeah, but when gang members kill each other, they can have really deep bonds. But they're still, you know, sex trafficking, drug smuggling gang members.
Yeah.
Good. To a degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do understand what you're talking about.
Like, their outcry and pain is valid, but
yes. Exactly.
Their actions post what, you know, their outcry of pain might not be.
And tragedy is kind of the key word there, that never diminish someone's loss by any means. Always respect the people. First of all, just respect the people.
Yeah, fair.
Should be a given.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Apparently it's not.
It used to be cringy to say that. Now it just seems like it needs to be said constantly. Otherwise, nobody gets it. But that kind of stuff happens all the time.
Sure.
Unequivocally. I mean, what was the news story just a couple weeks ago? How many people die in Chicago per week? It's insane. Yeah. It's like hundreds. Maybe not hundreds, but it's like over 100, I think. I mean,
I'm gonna, you might find
Chicago weekly death toll.
Yeah.
2017 Chicago murders. Okay, August to date. Year to date. 416 people have been shot and killed in Chicago.
Since the 1st of January?
I would presume so. Just this week, 8/13 through 8/19, which is exactly one full week. 18 people. August to date, 31, and that's shot. These are shot and killed statistics. Shot and wounded, August to date, 167. Week in progress, 75. Year to date, 1,981.
Nearly 2,000 people in this year in the single city of Chicago have been shot and wounded.
Yeah.
That's an absurd number of people.
Mm-hmm. And, well, I don't... Illustrating... Who knows about the validity of the site? It's just ajackass.com. The first search result...
Seems legit.
Right? First search result, but whatever. I agreed, because I've also heard those numbers reciprocated, so it's not hard to... It might not be exact, but, you know, they're pretty close. But nobody's freaking out about that. No one's screaming, or again, as Ben Shapiro puts it really well, more people die to blunt objects in the United States per year than assault rifle fire. But no one's calling out for banning of blunt objects, you know? It's just all about...
Like the one kind of blunt I want.
It's just, it's all focused around a very specific...
niche.
Well, it's not even about a niche, it's about what's polarizing. Blunt objects don't polarize people. But assault rifles do, you know what I mean?
Dude, that's bullshit, because I remember I hit a couple of blunts, and I'm just sitting back fucking woo.
That's not divisive, though. That brings you together. That brings people together.
We should start a campaign for National Everybody Gets Ripped Day. Where everybody in the U.S. fucking gets ripped, and we all just love each other. You know what would happen? The world would be a fucking better place in one fucking day. Just tell me one person that's going to be able to hate or ripped out of their mind.
Well,
tell me,
because one of the struggles with the real world is that I would say majority have it really bad.
I consider myself extremely lucky and fortunate to have the life that I do.
Yeah,
100%.
If you discount, let's just say, Japan, China, Russia, US, Canada, Europe. Let's just say those 6.
So what? South
One
America,
continent and 5 countries.
South America, Africa, and
yeah, sure. Australia as well.
so what?
2
Russia,
continents-
the Middle East, Africa, South America, and then the fucking
2
penguins.
continents and 5 countries have it pretty good.
5 countries. The Middle East. There's more than 5 countries in the Middle East. They're not all.
No, like United States and
Oh, I thought you were saying okay,
Yeah.
discounting those. Okay,
yeah, discounting those ones.
So North
Most
America.
of the world, and I would think that because of those numbers, say the majority of the people on the planet don't have it very well. Are not living good lives, which is a tragedy. However, I don't know what I personally can do about that. Kind of a weird area to go into because it's like
No, I understand
it's
what
like
you're saying.
grandstanding, but on the other hand, what can I do about it? I'm kind of making the best with what I have, as many people do.
You
so
could be
on your
Akon.
note, 7 billion people getting blazed. Just there's still people that really have it shitty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but come to a conclusion. Well, if you're just one person, that argument's not really valid. Look what Akon did for Africa. Seriously, look at Akon, the musical
Oh, yeah,
art.
I know.
Like,
I'm just saying. I'm not
also,
Akon yet.
fun fact, if any of you who are watching this that don't know this, which I don't even know if there's anyone ever going to watch this, Akon has 3 wives.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so, fun fact, I found this out from an old roommate of mine and did my own research. Like, he has legitimately 3 wives, so in a lot of songs...
One per country.
In a lot of songs, like, he's featured in with, like, oh god, what's the... Oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember his name. Anyway, I'm forgetting the one specific artist.
Moral of
but
the story, get 3 wives.
in songs he's features, like, I gotta get Akon in the club plus 3. The reference is to his 3 wives. And it's not very public knowledge because, you know, in the Western society, having 3 wives is not really, like, a cool thing to do. But, you know, it's cool where he comes from. The more wives you can afford, the better off you are.
Can afford?
No, that's seriously what it is. The more wives you can afford to support, you are considered a better person. It's not more wives you can afford to buy.
Yeah,
because
that's just the way it sounds.
I could buy wives from Africa too. Doesn't mean I would.
I really want to.
We can cut
that. I want to be somebody walking around outside. Like, what the fuck?
Dude, they probably got some A1 entertainment right now. Like, you're welcome, neighbors.
Anything else you want to wrap up?
Not for this podcast, but as future reference, like for other podcasts, to have a little more heads up than just, hey, let's have a podcast so we can actually do some prep time and some research on topics. Just because I want to have information, statistics to back up what we're going to do. I'm not saying we both know what we're going to research, but say, hey, let's do a podcast on this. I'll Google something I want to...
I'm gonna cut that. I meant specific for this podcast.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, nothing for this podcast. I'm all good. I think we made some points that brought some things up.
Who knows how often these will come out? Kind of this is episode 1, so we will have to see how often we can do these, how often we're comfortable. Because I don't know how much of it I cut out post video here, but
about 85%. We just left in the anime and dicks.
Yeah, right? Can't talk about polarizing political issues. Yeah, so coming in, we're kind of, understandably nervous.
Yeah.
I don't think either of us really give a shit about the opinions of people who...
And that's where we cut.
We don't give a shit about the opinions of people. I love it. Well,
title for the fucking video. If that's not fucking clickbait, you can go fuck yourself.
I'm down. That's gonna be the title. And cut. So, no. So everybody, as we're here to talk about, you're entitled to your differing opinion, but personally, I'm happy to read, but differing opinion is different from just, you fucking moron, you racist, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, cool story, bros. Have fun living your miserable, self-deprecating lives.
Yeah.
But part of what we're hesitant to do is it's not about the fear of other people commenting on it. It's more about the fear for us saying things that aren't true, being uninformed about a topic. Now, I've said, it's a good topic, actually, to finish kind of wrap up this podcast. I've said first of all, we have the computer and computers. To do the research, we need while we're going. That's kind of the point of the podcast. Joe Rogan does it all the time, right? Yeah, Joe Rogan does it all the time. They're like, what is that? They're like, what is this? Jamie, bring it up, and they look at it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh my god, that becomes a topic, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we can do the research. But
On the fly, yeah.
It is definitely.
I just don't want to say something that is incorrect.
Prep work.
And I want to give, if I'm going to spew facts or spew things that have happened, statistics.
Okay, but so that's what I've been pointing out. Just don't spew facts. If you're not confident, don't talk about facts. You know?
Yeah, and
you can still have an opinion based on what you know, and then if
but
what
in this
you know
day and
is
age,
wrong,
your opinion, if you say it, people construed it as fact.
That's not your problem. That's the point.
But they make it your problem and paint you as the asshole. Look at
they
PewDiePie. Fucking Pew.
And how wildly successful he is. Look at Milo
He was wildly successful prior to him being called a Nazi.
Milo Yiannopoulos, better example.
He got popular because he was called...
Wildly successful. After being fired, after being shunned by the media, you know?
I'm trying to think of the most, like, un-PC thing to say right now and just use that as, like, the biggest clip we can.
Well, but you see what I'm saying.
I'll hold back.
But, so, just wanted to give you guys kind of a preference. Where preface, not preference.
Yeah.
But
words are hard,
like
ciders are good.
Well, I think I said preface, I just don't think I enunciated it very well.
Use your words.
It's a struggle for us to kind of come into a topic that is very divisive, very controversial, and like anime and hentai.
Hentai's not controversial at all. You ever see the tentacle porn? That shit is good!
But
suction cups.
Current events can be a little difficult to talk about just because of the fact that it's hard to find out what is real. Yeah. And that's kind of what we're trying to overcome here, is this fact that at some point you just need to roll with it. If somebody points out, if somebody gives you an argument worth believing to change your mind, well, change your mind.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's where we're both at in that spectrum.
Part of this is directed at you, part of it's directed at the audience, and part of it's for me as well. Don't come in, do as much research as you want. We'll try and do some kind of preface, but these probably will be impromptu for a little while.
Sure.
And on that note, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just speak your opinion on a topic, and if somebody goes, oh, well, you know, here's some information. It's about the delivery, of course. If somebody goes, wow, you're a fucking idiot. You clearly don't know what you're talking about. Well, that's clearly
I've got a
the
perfect
kind of
example for that.
Well, that's clearly the kind of thing, though, that turns people away from wanting to speak publicly.
People that say Macs are better than PC, you are actually fucking idiots.
I mean, okay, that's that statement. That's not true. What do you want? What are you using it for? PCs are better at gaming, and pretty much only gaming. That's it. I would any day of the week take a Mac for video editing. Take a Mac for well, I mean, honestly, if you're talking about computers in general, I would say Windows for gaming, Mac for editing, Linux for programming. Yeah, I mean, that's it. Yeah, essentially, it kind of depends on what you want to use it for, you know.
But nobody wants Linux.
Well, I mean, nobody wants Linux because it's a free OS and blah blah blah. But if you're a programmer, you love
Linux. Yeah,
exactly. I think it's a good way to do it. It's kind of where I want to wrap up.
Sure.
You know, don't. For our sake, for your sake, again, it's cringy, but it needs to be said, man, because holy fuck, you just read the news and it's so depressing. Don't be afraid to speak your mind. Don't be afraid of what other people say about you.
Don't be afraid to change your mind. That's another big thing.
Don't be afraid to change your mind. That's a big one. That's probably the biggest one.
Is go into every conversation
you don't have
have.
to be a public speaker. You don't have to do podcasts. You don't have to talk to your friends about all things. But don't be afraid to change your mind, because those are the kind of things that are important in life. That's how you grow.
That's how we become better as people in general.
Mm-hmm. Thanks everyone for watching. It's been fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Hour and a half, basically, on the dot. And after some trimming, probably like an hour 20, I would expect. Maybe even 125.
Maybe less. Yeah.
We only had like 5 to 10 minutes of no talking / downtime. We're not cutting out every silence, but
we're not cutting out the hentai.
We're cutting out.
No, Mom.
We're cutting out my conversation to that.
No, Mom. No,
It'll
please.
just be one-sided. All right, thanks, guys. Peace
Have a
out.
good one.